The Phoenix Festival tournament has entered its final stretch, now that it's come time to crown the winners of the teams category, and we are entering the grand finals of the singles category throughout this week. Before we get into the results, I want to thank everyone who gave such detailed answers for all of this round's matches. With the teams category and singles category, there was people putting a lot of analysis, so much so that there were paragraphs of answers, and I loved reading through all of them. People put a lot of thought into this, how matches were getting a lot closer than they have been in previous rounds. What with, the stronger fighters remaining, it all makes sense, and I'm really happy to see so many people caring about this tournament, enjoying the tournament as much as I am, and I really look forward to doing this again in the future. But now let's get into the results of the teams category and who will be crowned our champions. In the bronze match between Team Witch and Team Goop, it was Team Witch that came out the victor. A lot of people were saying that Team Witch just has a more stacked team than Team Goop, with what we don't know about Bartholomew Oobleck and Peter Port, that they would just be more of a disadvantage for their team and put Team Goop at a disadvantage overall. When we compare it to Team Witch having a Tyrion, Hazel, and Cinder, as well as Watts being able to manipulate the biomes, though people were agreeing that Watts likely wouldn't manipulate the biomes, because that would likely give Glinda just more of an advantage. So keeping it the way it is, with Tyrion and Hazel being able to handle Glinda and Ozpin, it wouldn't take too much for Cinder and Watts to be able to handle Oobleck and Port. So in this matchup, Team Witch takes the bronze medal, or should I say bronze crown, which is a bit ironic considering that Glinda misses out once again from getting one of her own crowns. But in this case, Team Witch does take the third place in the Phoenix Festival Tournament teams category. But moving on to the championship match between Team Esprit and Team Stark. A lot of people were saying this match would be incredibly close, as both of these teams have extremely skilled characters on them. Team Stark being of legendary status, members of Ozpin's inner circle, Crow and Raven being some of the most skilled huntsmen and huntresses we have seen in the entirety of the RWBY series. Summer and Ty, we don't know as much about them, we don't know their weapons, their semblances, but in terms of skill and experience, they should be on the same level as Crow and Raven, though we are considering them a notch below because of the unknown. And then Team Esprit being stacked from the Atlas military, Ironwood being the general of the entire military, headmaster of Atlas Academy, Winter Schnee being his second in command, Penny Polendina, the defender of Mantle, the multiple blades she has, and Clover Evie, the leader of the Ace Ops. There are so many skilled characters on Team Esprit and Team Stark alike that this match would be insane to see play out on screen. But when we get to the voting, it turns out that Team Stark is our champions. Team Stark takes the victory over Team Esprit. A lot of people saying that it would be extremely close, but with Crow and Raven, especially fighting as a team, with Raven being able to create portals to the rest of her team, that the speed and versatility that they would have would be able to overwhelm Team Esprit. And a lot of things that people were pointing out, that when it comes to Crow and Raven, evaluating their skill levels individually versus the skill levels individually of the members of Team Esprit, Team Stark does seem to rank a bit higher than the members of Team Esprit individually, especially once they are fighting as a team, with Raven's semblance able to boost them all a little bit more than the team semblances would for Team Esprit. Team Stark comes out on top. There were a couple people saying that since we don't know two of the members of the Team Stark, what their semblances or weapons are, it doesn't really feel right to put them on the podium. And honestly, I have to agree with that. That's kind of why I recommended swapping out Summer and Ty before the tournament began, but the people's voting is unanimous, and I did go through each and every one of the answers and read through all of the paragraphs of analysis that people did, and it seems like people are legitimately saying that Team Stark, with their legendary status, would be able to beat Team Esprit, and it's not just because of their legendary status, because of the skill we've seen from Crow and Raven. It outmatches the skill that we have seen from the individual members of Team Esprit, and Summer and Ty would likely be on a similar level. Even considering a notch below, they would still be equal to members of Team Esprit. So Team Stark does take the gold medal, or gold crowns in this case, and Team Esprit takes the silver spot. First place being Team Stark, second place Team Esprit, third place Team Witch, and fourth place Team Goop in the teams category. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Did the voting go the way that you expected it? Did the teams you voted for win? And your thoughts overall on the teams tournament, suggestions for next year and how to do things differently. I think when I do the teams category next year, it will be completely randomized. I wanted to keep it this year having more structured teams that would make a bit more sense, but next year I think randomizing it similar to the doubles category will be a fantastic way to do that, and we will get some very interesting team combinations. So hopefully look forward to that. But now we need to get into the results of the semifinals in the singles category and find out what 5 members, what 5 characters are going to be moving on to the grand finals. In our first match between Crow Bronwyn and Talk, it was Crow that came out the victor by a fair margin. A lot of people were analyzing the fight, the one fight that we have seen Talk in when she fought against Maria Calavera, the Grim Reaper, and she had the 3 other goons that were fighting alongside her. If it was just 1v1 Talk versus Maria, it seems that Maria likely would have won that fight, and a lot of people were saying that Crow is at the very least on the same skill level as Maria is. So Crow, with the speed that he's demonstrated in the fight that he had against Tyrion, would be able to outspeed Talk, not to mention the biomes that he was fighting in, the urban especially, giving him a little bit of extra cover, and the fact that Crow would be able to know Talk's abilities going into battle, whereas it was a surprise for Maria, having Talk have this invincibility. It was able to disarm her at one point when she struck against Talk's aura and her weapon just bounced off. So in this fight, Crow, having the advantage of knowing what Talk is capable of before going into battle, he would just have the clean victory in this one. And then in our second match between Maria Calavera and Piranekos, it seems similar factors were also at play. The prior knowledge that Pyrrha might be using her polarity to manipulate people's weapons and metallic objects, giving Maria just an added advantage, even more so than her semblance of preflexes, being able to anticipate Pyrrha using her polarity to manipulate her weapons. So in this match, Maria ends up the victor as well. Not to mention Maria fighting with her life and death. If she's ever disarmed, she could use the gravity dust to retract her twin commas to her and continue the fight. Now, that's not to say it would be an easy fight for her to win. Pyrrha is extremely skilled, not to mention Milo and Akuo. Fighting with a shield is going to be very effective in battle, as having the defense and offense. Pyrrha is extremely skilled, would be a difficult fighter for anyone to go up against, but Maria, with her skill experience, being just a more experienced huntress overall, and the best of her class, Pyrrha, the best of her class, is still only a first-year student. Maria would just come out the victor in this fight. And then we get to our third match, which is the closest out of all of the semi-final matches. Raven Bronwyn versus Tyrion Callows. And in this one, it was Raven Bronwyn that came out the victor. A lot of people saying that with her dust capabilities, she would be able to get the slight advantage over Tyrion, though Tyrion would be able to start shattering her blades and using his 5 points of contact to start to overwhelm her. But Raven is a very fast fighter, just as Tyrion is, so it would be a fast-paced fight, but Raven, with how well she's able to, draw out the next blade and activate the dust capabilities, would possibly be able to freeze Tyrion's arm, freeze the weapons that he has, and give her that extra time to land more hits against Tyrion, thus letting her defeat him overall. This fight I could see going either way, honestly ending up a draw at certain times, but in this case, with no draws being available, Raven ends up defeating Tyrion. And then we get to our fourth match between Penny Polendina and Glinda Goodwitch. A lot of people agreed with me that it doesn't really seem right that Glinda would lose this match, but given the biomes that were in play and the disadvantages that Glinda had just by random chance, Penny does come out the victor in this fight. Using her lasers and her floating array, all of the different blades that she has, she would eventually be able to overwhelm Glinda. Glinda is very experienced, much more experienced than Penny, and would be able to dodge out of the way of a lot of the attacks, but Penny would just be able to overwhelm her overall. People were pointing out that Glinda might be able to use her telekinesis to be able to manipulate Penny's blades when she fires them outwards, which may be true, we don't exactly know, and Glinda maybe would be able to manipulate Penny herself. She's in that bit of a gray area between being a human and, being a cyborg, which Penny is, so there's a bit of a gray area there, but people were also pointing out that Glinda, in episode 1 of the RWBY series, didn't just throw Cinder out of the plane using her semblance of telekinesis, so there's some things that aren't really matching up here, and in this case, given the biome disadvantage, not as many things that Glinda could manipulate, Penny does come out the victor. And then in our final final match between Ozpin and Neapolitan, two close combat fighters with fairly similar fighting styles, and in this case, experience would play a huge advantage. And Ozpin has that experience. He would come out the victor over Neapolitan. Neo is a bit more agile at dodging attacks and being able to counterattack, but Ozpin, with his experience, would be able to do something similar. That's not to say Neo wouldn't be able to land any hits against him, especially using her semblance of real illusions, her overactive imagination. She would be able to land a few hits against Ozpin, dodge out of the way of quite a few of his attacks, but her aura would be continually drained, at least more so than she would be able to drain Ozpin's, and before Ozpin would be able to drain hers by counterattacking. So Neo, using her semblance as well as taking hits from Ozpin, her aura would drain faster than Oz's, and Ozpin would end up winning this fight. So the 5 fighters moving on to the grand finals are Crow Bronwyn, Maria Calavera, Raven Bronwyn, Penny Polendina, and Ozpin. Each of these 5 characters will face one another in their own match, so there will be 10 matches taking place throughout the week, 2 each day. Voting will be live until midnight on Saturday, October 10th, Eastern Standard Time, so plenty of time to cast your votes. Let me know down in the comments below who you think is going to come out the victor overall in the Phoenix Festival Tournament singles category. What match are you looking forward to most? And what characters do you think are going to give the most exciting or closest match overall? I look forward to hearing what you guys think. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the Phoenix Festival Tournament overall. We have reached the final stretch, but that only means the most exciting matches are yet to come. So hopefully you guys will enjoy. Make sure to subscribe to keep up with all the content on this channel. Join the Guild of the Eternal Flame. Tweet me at PhoenixKnight7. Join our Discord server as well, linked in the description below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.